Welcome to the What I Wish I Knew After Pregnancy Loss podcast. I am your host, Sharna Southern. I am an angel mum, a rainbow mum, a pregnancy loss practitioner, and trauma-informed coach. I created the Institute of Healing Through Pregnancy Loss out of my own experience with loss in the hopes to provide understanding and healing, educating people on pregnancy loss, and creating more women or men in trained support roles. In this podcast, I hope to shed light on what I wish I knew in relation to pregnancy loss, opening up the conversation, breaking the stigma, and bringing real-life stories plus guest experts. Thank you for being here with me today, and let's dive into today's episode. Welcome, beautiful souls, to the What I Wish I Knew After Pregnancy Loss podcast. Today, I have with me Sarah Cox. Sarah is a mum to 3 living children and a daughter in heaven. She went through infertility and pregnancy loss. Now she works to help other lost families share their stories and not feel so alone. Thank you for joining us, Sarah.
Did it freeze again?
It did. I'll get my podcast manager to cut this part out. What part did you hear?
I heard up until you read the end of the bio.
Okay. All right. I'll start there again. Okay. End of the bio. Yeah. I won't read the bio again. Thank you for joining us, Sarah.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on today.
You're so welcome. Did you want to share a little bit more about the path that has led you to do what you do and where you are today?
Sure. Yeah, it's kind of a long, complicated journey.
A long and
But
windy path. Yeah.
yes, basically. I was diagnosed with PCOS when I was only 16. So I had trouble when we finally started trying to get pregnant when I met my husband and we got married, we were ready. And so we had to do fertility treatment. I actually got pregnant with my son right after a failed treatment cycle, and he was born healthy, no issues. We went back to fertility treatment after that, and then had a chemical pregnancy, and then we also had an early miscarriage. Never saw the heartbeat on that one. And then I actually had to have a shot of methotrexate on that one because they weren't sure. They were monitoring my HCG levels and they were going down, and then all of a sudden they started going back up again. And so they're like, okay, well, it could be ectopic or it could be like retained tissue that's still there. So I had to get the shot and then be benched for 3 months of waiting. After that, we did another treatment cycle, and this was it wasn't IVF, but it was I had to do like injections, and we did like a timed cycle, and that one failed. But then right after that, I got pregnant with my daughter Jasmine on a natural cycle, like right after that again. Super excited. We saw the heartbeat. I'm like, okay, we're in the clear after those 2 early losses. Then at 13 weeks, we went in and found out that she had a congenital diaphragmatic hernia. And that means there's a hole in her diaphragm. It didn't properly form all the way. And so it allows the organs to push up into her chest cavity, and then it pushes her heart over, and it like compresses the lungs so they can't fully grow. And so, I could talk a lot about this pregnancy, but long story short, we were told she had a 50-50 chance of making it. I did research. We found a specialist that had really good odds, like treating babies with CDH. So we were planning to relocate to another state. And then, she would have to have surgery right after she was born. We went to all the appointments. Everything was looking, as good as it could for somebody with this condition. And then they called us back in and said her lung tissue looks abnormal because we had a fetal MRI, and they said that it looks abnormal. So we really want you to go get an amnio and see if there's something else going on. So I did, and the results came back that she had mosaic trisomy 15, which is extremely rare. Most babies with trisomy 15, those pregnancies end in a miscarriage. They don't usually make it, all the way to where we were. And they said that that was probably because it was mosaic in nature. So it means not all the cells had that extra copy, just some of the cells had the extra copy. And so, I talked to our specialist again. He's like, we don't really know how for sure this will change her odds, but we will still treat you. So we were planning to still relocate, give her the best chance we could. And then at my appointment, my 32-week appointment, I went in and she had developed high drops, and I had not been feeling her move the night before. And so, our doctor then basically told us that we could choose to deliver her now and spend, some time with her, or every like day longer we waited, we just increased the chances of her being stillborn. And so that was on a Tuesday. And then the Saturday after, we went into the hospital for a movement check, and that's when we learned that she was gone. And so I had to deliver her on Sunday. It was March 11th. So actually she would be turning 6 tomorrow. So yeah, it's been kind of a long journey. And then after that, 6 months later, we did fertility treatment again, had our rainbow daughter. And then last year had well, actually, no, not last year. It's already 2024. In 2022, we had our surprise pot of gold baby. So now I have 3 living children, and then Jasmine in heaven. That's kind of my shortened version, even though that doesn't feel very short.
No, I really appreciate you sharing what you have. And, it's never anything that we anticipate to be on our journey, like to motherhood, like to have to go through, especially even, the whole trying to conceive process, when it's not as easy as what they tell you it's going to be. And then to
Right.
go through all of this, experience as well, this heartache, the pain. And, you keep shifting the way that your life is going to look. Like each time that you got them tell you that there was something, you shifted. Okay, so now this is not going to be how we anticipated it. So I have to think a different way. Like, how's our life going to look now? And then you were even going to, relocate. And then each time they add something in, like your
Right.
perception of how life is going to look shifts again. And you don't have that, I guess, that sort of tangible thing to hold on to. Like, I don't actually know what this is going to look like.
Yeah.
And it's I remember going into the ultrasound clinic and they couldn't find the heartbeat. It was my worst nightmare, but I didn't actually know that it was my worst nightmare. But it was like something that you never anticipate is going to happen. But when it does, you're like, it's literally, it is your worst nightmare. Your whole world just comes crashing down at that point. And I'm so sorry that, you had to go through that too. But also to go through the whole rest of that journey as well. And have these diagnoses sort of thrown at you the whole time.
I just remember, when we were going through the infertility stuff, and I thought, okay, this will be the hard part. Like, surely the getting pregnant will be hard, but then once I am pregnant, like, it'll be okay, right? And then it's like, oh no, you get hit with everything. Like, and then I know after we lost Jasmine, we met with a genetic counselor, and basically said it was just a random occurrence and that there's like a less than 1% chance of it happening in a pregnancy. I'm like, oh, cool. I get to be part of the less than 1%. Like, I feel so special, like I don't want to be part of that statistic. Thank you.
You're like, I'm pretty sure you're telling me that so there's like I don't know, some validation or reassurance or something in it that there's, but sometimes though them saying that it makes everything so much worse. You're like, well, 1%. Like, why was I in that 1%? Why was it me?
Like,
Why
and
was
then
it Jasmine?
why would I not be again? Right. Because I already was. So
Yeah. Yeah. How do you,
it
and
makes
that,
it scarier.
yeah, exactly. And then how do you, and then that is really hard for anyone going through, loss in itself is just how do you stop your mind from going to that, those worst case scenarios each time you do go down that trying to conceive process again. But even more so when you have something so rare, you're like, how, can my body do this again, or will this happen again to my next baby?
Yeah, that was my biggest fear, when I was pregnant with my rainbow daughter. Every appointment, I'm just like, is her heart in the right place? Like, is her diaphragm formed? Like, is everything okay? And then you'd feel like, okay, everything looks good. And then like an hour later, I'm like panicking again, like, okay, but what if it suddenly isn't okay now? It was okay an hour ago, but that was an hour ago.
Yeah.
It's rough.
And that is the mind of a lost mum. Like that whole, I remember that as well. I know I didn't have obviously your experience. Like I had a early loss, like a miscarriage at 7 weeks, but I have epilepsy. So the medication that I'm on, I had to be on through my pregnancy, and it can cause it can cause birth defects, and it can cause things to not form properly. So that was, even though that wasn't my direct experience, just knowing that that was a possibility was also stuff that was going through my mind. Has her heart formed properly? Has her brain formed properly? Has her lungs formed properly? And going through the my subsequent pregnancy after loss was consumed with even all of the things that could potentially go wrong, on top of obviously your experience where
Right.
things have gone wrong, and that you're not guaranteed that pregnancy.
And it's also kind of scary, like being part of the lost community, because then you know everything that can go wrong. And it's like, I kind of wish I didn't know all this information now. Like, I like being supportive and hearing your stories, but now I'm scared of this thing, It's
Yeah,
hard.
yeah, you get exposed to so many different things, and you feel obviously when you haven't gone through loss, that's that blissful ignorance. Like you're like, I don't know about this world that exists. And then you go through it and you find out that you're part of this world. And then there's so many other women that are part of that world too. But then there's so many other ways that they've come into that world. And
Right.
it does, yeah, like you said, on one hand, like you're incredibly grateful that you can support people, but on the other hand, now you're so much more aware of all of the other, experiences and ways pregnancies can go wrong.
Yeah.
Um, do you want to share a little bit about, because I know my experience with trying to conceive and that whole journey after loss, being so consumed with anxiety and fear, and but also on the flip side of that, trying to hold on to the fact that you really do want to have a pregnancy and you do want to have a baby, so you do want to go down that path, but that's such conflicting emotions and thoughts and feelings that go along with it. Do you want to share a little bit about kind of your story and how you were able to navigate that as well?
Yeah, so we actually knew we were gonna try again, like, I mean, pretty much right after we lost her. And never as a replacement. And we just knew, like, we were expecting to bring our daughter home. We didn't get to bring our daughter home. So we wanted another baby, and we had our son at home. He was 3 at the time. So my doctor originally said that I needed to wait a year to try again. And I'm like, no, like I'm not doing that. That is too long, And so he's like, well, okay, like 6 months really. Cause I didn't have a C-section. I didn't have a complicated birth, He's like, okay, 6 months. So, I mean, right on the 6-month mark, I'm going to my fertility doctor, like, all right, let's go. And I was really frustrated because my cycles weren't, I mean, I have PCOS, so I don't always have normal cycles anyways, but after the loss, like they were just being so weird, and I was just like spotting all the time, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like I can't even like have a normal cycle, like, and I just felt like I needed to have at least like 1 or 2 normal cycles to feel like my body was like getting ready again, so it was like the longest 6 months ever, because it was like super frustrating. And yeah, we did fertility treatment and was really glad that it worked. That time it was really the only fertility treatment that worked, that we actually got to like bring a baby home, because the only other time it worked ended in miscarriage. So yeah, that just the waiting is really hard. And then I was so focused on like get pregnant again, get pregnant again, get pregnant again. And then the second I was like, oh my gosh, like what have I done? Like now I'm terrified, Not that I didn't like want to be pregnant, but it's just like I just like had that as my goal. So I didn't even think about all the other stuff that would like come along with it. And then the second I was pregnant, then like all the like terror started, like, oh my gosh, like what if something happens to her? And I don't think I like could fully breathe until she was born, and like was crying on my chest. And then I was crying because I'm just like, oh my God, like she's here. Like, it was just, oh yeah. But pregnancy after loss is one of the hardest things I've done. Like after my, besides like my actual loss, which is the hardest thing, I would say pregnancy after loss was up there too. It was just, people think you can just get pregnant again and like everything's fine because hey, you're pregnant again, you're gonna bring your baby home. And it's not that simple. Like you don't ever fully enjoy pregnancy again. You're scared to bond sometimes with your baby, scared to buy anything, scared to name your baby, scared to have a baby shower. Like it's all, ultrasounds aren't fun anymore. They're just like places that things go wrong. So yeah, I guess the best way to describe it is just like trying to find those moments of joy, but like being incredibly scared the whole time.
Yeah, I remember that was much like my journey as well. I was trying so hard to calm those anxious thoughts, those fears, those things that were coming up for me. But you don't realize how consuming they are until you're going through that. And like you said, people sort of think, oh, you're pregnant again, it's fine, you're happy, everything will be happy and they'll be fine, it'll be dandy. And you're just like, no, like the support that I needed going through my loss, double that now, because I am like petrified that, and like you said before, what if, it was fine an hour ago? What if it's not fine now? Like, what if her heartbeat's not beating right in this very moment and I don't even know? And, that was part of my experience, which morphed into the pregnancy after loss as well, which was my baby had passed without me knowing. And I was telling everyone that I was pregnant and it had already died. And I was like, I don't want to be in that position ever again where I'm the mum. I said, I felt like I should have known that this happened. I should have known that it had died. I shouldn't have been telling people that I was pregnant. I shouldn't have got excited. And so when obviously you go down that pregnancy, that trying to conceive and pregnancy after loss, all of that sort of comes back. And you're like, well, I was excited then, but can I be excited right in this moment? I remember texting mum so many times saying, I haven't felt her move. Like the whole day, I haven't felt her move. And she would constantly be reassuring me, saying, just spend some time, get really quiet and spend some time and just see if you can like tune into her and like quiet everything in your mind. You've been busy, you've been working, like maybe you haven't actually spent the time to pay attention. So I was, yeah, constantly calming myself down the whole entire pregnancy, and any weird cramp or sensation, I'd be ringing like the midwife or the hospital going, I need to be checked because something's happening.
Yeah, you're just scared of every little thing. I mean, and it's like every time I went to the bathroom, I'm like, there's gonna be blood, like there's gonna be like, and yeah, it's the movement thing that would scare me too. Every morning I'd wake up like, please move, please move. Okay, like she moved, like, we're okay, but yeah, the moving is reassuring when it starts, but then it becomes almost obsessive. Like I'm like, I want them moving at all times, please. No sleeping, you keep moving.
You're not allowed to sleep in there. Don't sleep. You just got
Right.
to,
Constant reassurance, please.
yeah,
Pretty
just like
much.
poking them all the time to try and move them. But
I know. She's probably like, leave me alone. Like, no, sorry. My anxiety is too bad. You need to move.
yeah, I was like a crazy person. And this is also like, what I tell other moms too. I'm like, it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to have these fears and anxieties. Don't push them away because they're coming because you've been through like one of the worst experiences of your life. I was a crazy person talking to myself all of the time, trying to calm myself. I'm like, it's okay. Okay, why are you here? Like, what are you trying to tell me today? Um, but I'm like, it's okay to to be that person because otherwise, if we do start to, push all of those away, it becomes crippling. And you're just like, well, I can't actually move. And then it does become really hard to bond, with the baby because you're afraid 24/7. But I
Right.
know like any mom wants to have that bond. They want to have that good times, those good memories to look back on and go, I was pregnant and, this is what happened. But, you know, I just found for myself, I tried to make a nice routine of every night. Like just I would massage oil into my belly and I would talk to her and just, you know, say that I was afraid or say, that, I'm really looking forward to meeting her. Um, but also, it's okay to be like to say that you're worried also that things could go wrong.
Yeah, I think, it's kind of in our nature, like to try to push all that stuff aside, like not acknowledge it. Like, let's just not even focus on it so we don't have to think about it. We don't have to feel it, because I mean, come on, those aren't fun. Like none of us want to like deal with the grief or the hard parts. Like we just want it to be all the fun parts. But I feel like we have to acknowledge it and so that we can work through it, or else we just like carry it with us or we just bottle it up until it like explodes everywhere at the worst time. Because I've definitely had that happen. I'm like, oops, I held that in a little too long.
Yeah, it's like a volcano. You kind of sort of just keep pushing the lid on the top, and then all of a sudden it's got to come out at some point, and chances are it's not going to be at the most convenient time or place. Um, so I just knew for myself, I was like, it without, or I wanted to have the connection. I wanted to be able to look back and go, I enjoyed my pregnancy. So now I can look back and say, I was shit scared. I was more like petrified that anything would go wrong. I cried the whole week leading up to giving birth to her because I was afraid she wasn't going to cry. I was, it kind of like it had morphed again. Like that whole, I'm sorry, there's no heartbeat was going to be told to me at the end when I gave birth. And I cried the whole week. I was like, I don't actually want to potentially experience that. I've
I
been,
had that same thing happen. Like
yeah.
with my recent daughter, my pot of gold baby, I was begging them for an induction at 39 weeks. And they wouldn't give it to me because they're like, we will do it, but the hospital's short staffed. They're not letting us schedule any elective inductions. And I'm just like, I don't like, I was so scared. Like, if I let her go past that, even though I haven't even had like that particular experience in the past, like I was just like, what if something happens to her? I was just same way. I was like crying all week, like something's gonna be wrong. Like, and then she decided to come at 38 weeks. So she kind of solved the problem for me. She actually came, I had an appointment that day and they again told me, no, we can't schedule your induction, I'm sorry. And wasn't having any signs of labor, woke up in the middle of the night with contractions and my water broke. I'm like, well, you solved my problem for me. You came at 38 weeks. So yeah, but I do remember that feeling of just being so terrified, like that right at the end. It's like when you get like super anxious because you're so close, but like it's like you still know it's not a guarantee.
Mm.
And that's what's scary.
One in 4 pregnancies will result in miscarriage. 1 in 8 women will experience infertility. 1 in 100 women will experience recurrent miscarriage. And 1 in 160 births end in stillbirth. Have you been wanting to make a difference in the lives of women or men who have experienced pregnancy loss because you can see so many suffering in silence, but you just don't know how? Collectively, we can change how bereaved parents can access mental, physical, and emotional support after their experience. There is a lot of women with unhealed trauma, and there is a huge gap in the current support system when it comes to bereaved parents' recovery after loss. There are too many women and men suffering in silence. The Pregnancy Loss Practitioner Certification is a worldwide, one-of-a-kind program that gives you proven methods designed for healthcare professionals, medical staff, midwives, nurses, doulas, birth workers, coaches, and angel parents alike. The Pregnancy Loss Practitioner Certification is bridging that gap. It will give you a proven support structure to follow and education specific to pregnancy loss, created by a lost mum. It is creating more education specifically for loss so that you can enhance your service and become the point of difference. Or you can create the support that you so desperately needed in your healing after loss. This is the next level of growth and expansion you have been searching for. So does this sound like something that you have been searching for? Let's explore this more together. You can head to the episode show notes where you'll find the program application, or direct message me on Instagram and let's open up the conversation in how you can use this education. You have a gift, and I look forward to supporting you and witnessing you bring your gift to the world, healing and transforming women's lives. Yeah, and I was actually, so I was scheduled for an induction at 40 weeks. So that was that, like, so I knew that whole week that I had the end date. I was like, this is when she's going to come. And then it just, what I thought I had dealt with and processed all came flooding back that week. And I was like, I was so torn. I wanted her to still, like, I knew she was still safe inside of me, but then I was like, I know she's got to come out, but what if it all goes so wrong? And then, so yeah, that fear was just consuming that week before. And again, like most mums, obviously, that haven't gone through loss would be ecstatic to be going in that last week and potentially meeting, their child. And this is where, I feel like support is just not available because, obviously going through loss is a soul shattering experience. And then obviously if you want to continue and you want to have a family and you want to go into that pregnancy after loss, you need more support, you need more understanding, you need more reassurance that everything that you're feeling and you're going through is okay. Not that you're ever going to be guaranteed, everything at the other end, but you just need that reassurance on that path on such a long time, like 9 months, to go through that constant, fear and anxiety. When I got to the hospital, though, I was not afraid. I was like, it was almost like I'd got it out of my system that whole week before, but it wasn't, it wasn't easy. And I didn't have anyone to say to me, I get it. I get why you're so scared. And it's okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel these fears. Like, I thought because I was crying and I was afraid that I was going to manifest something bad that was going to happen. And I hear so many moms saying that as well, but you feel like, oh, you're like, oh, you know, it couldn't happen, but then you've already experienced the worst. Like, that it could happen.
Now anything can happen. So it's like, and I feel like too, like right at the end, you've spent, like we've talked about that whole pregnancy being scared, and it like all culminates in this one moment of you like delivering the baby. And it's just like, it's a lot to like come together all at once. And it's like, because you've had that whole 9 months of anxiety and fear, like all coming like at you, like right now. And you're like, oh my gosh, like this is it. Like it's the worst.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I can look over my pregnancy and go, I was shit scared. I did take myself to the hospital multiple times, like with cramps, and they ended up saying to me, they're like, did you eat something wrong? Like, and I'm like, it was food. Like, what I'm feeling is food. It's not her. But I was like, you just, like, I kept getting told you're going through a normal pregnancy. I'm like, no, nope,
This
I'm
isn't
not.
normal. No.
Yes, in your eyes, it's normal. Yes, in your eyes, it's by the book, but it's you know, everything's like, each time I go in for an appointment, she's measuring okay, her heart rate's okay, like everything's on point, like in your eyes, but not in mine. Like, I need to know, like, that she is okay and what I'm feeling, is normal, not just to get brushed aside. But, you know, I remember rolling off a chair and having the weirdest cramp. And I texted my mom, I'm like, I don't know what's happening. And this cramp is not going away. Like, and I had worked myself up into a panic at that point. And the midwives weren't answering their phone. And I was like, I can't even talk to anyone. No one's answering their phone. So, and it doesn't take long, like, for us to go, okay, this is what's happening, and this could be the end result.
Right. I think we kind of instantly jump there. Think, well, this is the worst thing. I remember having a similar experience with that too. I was like on the floor and I like twisted weird or like tried to get up and I was like, oh my gosh, like what is this pain over here? Like, yeah, I worked myself up about that one too. And it finally went away and they said it was probably just like sciatic pain or something like that. But I'm just like, yeah, I've never felt that before and that was awful and scary. So like, let's just be nice about it.
Yeah. And I like, that's what I really feel like there needs to be more acknowledgement going through these moments of like, okay, I may have made this a big deal, but because my past experiences haven't been, the greatest. So
Right.
can you please just show me a little bit of compassion and empathy for the fact that I may have just pulled a muscle, or I may have eaten something wrong, which was causing me, bloating or, pain. But, you know, given my experience, this is why I feel so scared that this could be something more, bigger than what it is. Um, but I also, with your you mentioned, parenting after loss as well. Like, it's not those don't go away. You think, oh yeah, cool, I've got my living baby like at the other end of this. It will all be okay now. And it's not. Again, it's just like the amount of fear that sort of comes with then trying to parent them and the anxieties. But you also know that they have to be their own person and live their life too. But you want to stop them from doing so much because you're like, I
And I'm
just don't
like, can
want,
I keep you in a bubble?
yeah, I don't want to lose you. Please just don't go and do that thing or go out here and do that or scare me or whatever. It it's a really, again, it's a hard place to navigate that there isn't any real support. Like I've had so many fears of losing her, like my daughter. And to someone else, if I said it to someone, they'd be like, "Oh my God, you're crazy." I'm like, but I
Probably say
know.
that about me too.
Yeah.
The number of ways that I've thought in my head of things that could happen to my kids, I'm like, is this normal? Because this is like insane.
Yeah. And
No.
I'm pretty sure most mums are, want to protect their children, but I'm pretty sure the amount of fears and anxieties and, like you said, scenarios that we could think of would also not be something that a normal mum, I say normal in air quotes, would be considering.
Yeah, I always say like when they were born, like those fears stopped, but then
Mm,
like a whole new set started. Like, okay, she's here, she's safe, but oh my gosh, what if she stops breathing in her sleep? What if somebody tries to take her? What if she gets sick with like RSV? Like, I mean, it just like it goes on and on, It's like, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like the fear
yeah,
didn't go away. It just turned into something new.
it, yes. I remember the exact same, I was watching her constantly breathing. I just always needing to have that reassurance that she was okay. Um, and she breathes really and still does breathe really shallow. So there was so many times mum's just like, put your finger under her nose and you'll feel her breathing. And I couldn't. And I was like, there's so many times that I couldn't feel it because like she was so shallow, but she's so much like me. I was in hospital and for my epilepsy, and they had all of the is it ECG for the where they put all the probes on your head,
Oh yeah.
or EEG, sorry, EEG, and I kept setting off all the alarms because obviously then they'd connect you up to all the heartbeat heart rate monitors and all of that, and my heart rate every time I went to sleep would go like down to like 45. They're like,
Oh
your
wow.
this is like really low and we've got to set the rate at 50 because 50 is low, but it can be healthy, but it can also be unhealthy. So we can't set it anything lower than that. So every single night that I was there for a week. I was woken up each time my heart rate went under that. So I had very, very little sleep. But my husband said to me, he goes, it actually looks like you're dead. Like you lay
Oh
there,
wow.
you don't move, it doesn't look like you're breathing. And I was like, holy crap, no wonder I've woken up a few times with him standing over me, just like looking at me.
You're like, oh my gosh, I'm okay. I'm okay.
And I'm like, why are you staring at me? And he's like, I just wanted to see if you were alive still. But so, that he had that fear with me, and now she's very much like that. She sleeps really still, very, very like shallow, shallow breathing. I don't know. But it was really difficult for me to see when she was a newborn to see all of that. I wanted to know just like for sure that she was breathing without me having to like poke her or make her move or but in the end, that's what I had to do. I was like, I just want you to
I did
roll
that
over
too.
or like just move a
It'll
body
just
part
touch you a little.
so I know that
Make a
you're okay.
noise. I know. Yeah, I definitely did plenty of that too. Like, okay, I can't tell, so I'm just gonna risk it and touch her. And sometimes she'd wake up, sometimes she wouldn't. But I'm like, you know what? At least I know. I'll put her back to sleep now, but at least I know she's okay because I can't go to sleep until I know.
Yeah. And then there was only one night. I was blessed with one night where she slept through, and but in saying that, I woke up because I panicked. I was like, why is she sleeping through?
Hmm.
Where every other mum was like, oh, my baby's sleeping through and it's amazing. And I'm like, no, I actually don't want mine to.
Right? Like
I
I
want,
need to make sure she's okay periodically. So if you could just wake up, that's okay.
yeah. So I was just like, with her, she ended up only sleeping 20-minute cycles. She didn't end up ever really linking them until she got older. Um, but in my mind, I was like, that's okay. I know that she'll be okay. So then you get the one night that she actually did, sleep all the way through. And then I was like, oh my gosh, something's happened.
Yeah.
But
And I hate that our mind like automatically goes there. Like I don't want it to go there. It just does. Like, I can't keep it from going there.
yeah, yeah, like it's not like a conscious decision. It's just, that sort of felt sense in your body. It's just those deep-seated fears that we have. And only because, you know, we know that it can be taken away in any moment. Not that you ever wish that that's, you don't want that to be happening and you don't want that to be your thought process. But it's almost like then that just becomes your go-to, your the one that is like conditioned to, and you're like, oh well, and then so you got to keep talking yourself out of that. Um, but it is a very difficult place again to navigate, is that next chapter too. Because again, there's not a lot of support to say, these fears and anxieties are okay. And this is how, you can support yourself. And also this is how you can support your child, because they're very, very susceptible to the energies that we put out. And if we're in that constant state of fear and anxiety and stress, they pick up on it. So, it's a beautiful place, like, but also a very hard place to be.
Yeah. That's the perfect way to describe it. Like, I'm so grateful to them. I'm so grateful I get to be their parent. But yeah, I'm pretty much a giant ball of anxiety most of the time. So um, try my best to not like send it their way, but it's just who I am now. It's who I've always been, but lost made it a lot worse.
Yeah, yeah. And, it's not to say that we ever consciously, like you said, it's not, you're not ever consciously making that decision, oh, I'm just going to be anxious and I'm going to be fearful and afraid. Like it sometimes just happens. But also
I
it
would
doesn't,
love to not.
yeah, but also doesn't mean that it has to stay with you. Like it can happen, you can allow it to come in, but there's also ways that you can go, okay, and start to process it and help yourself move through those moments too. Um, and hopefully, and then we can teach our children how to do it too. Like we can teach our children, if this is how you're feeling, this is what you can do. Um, and help them because I know a lot of the time when I talk to a lot of adults, it's not ever anything that they've been taught. They don't know. I mean, I didn't know how to process my emotions. I was just told I was too emotional. Like you cry all the time. Like just stop crying. I'm
Wow,
like,
so helpful, right?
like
Sure,
that.
let me just flip the switch and I won't be doing that anymore. Okay, problem solved.
Yeah, exactly. Like you know, because your parents were never given the tools and the awareness and the education that emotions are okay and there are ways to process them. You just don't shut them down and push them away or be punished for feeling them. So what I would love to do is obviously show my daughter that it's okay to have these emotions. It's okay to be upset and cry and or feel stressed or angry, and not be told if you're angry you have to go and stand in the corner until you calm down. Like that doesn't help the child process the anger.
Right.
Um, and then in turn, like obviously when you're not given the tools, you come become an adult and then you don't know how to process your own emotions. So you're just like, well, I was punished for feeling this, so I can't feel that. Or I was, shut down for feeling this. I was told I was, this type of person because I felt this. Um, but, if we can show them that these emotions are okay and there are ways to move through them, then our children can become adults that can process their emotions. But it's not something that we're ever taught. So it's okay to feel like you don't know what to do with it. But also it's okay to just witness it and feel through it, because essentially that's what we need to do. And like you said before, it's not ever going to be comfortable. It's not nice.
Yeah, none of us want to do it.
No.
Trust me, I know. I try to not do it as much as possible, but then but then I have to, Like I know tomorrow is going to be a hard day with it being her birthday. Usually the days leading up to it are hard. I've been really busy at work, which has helped me kind of like stay distracted, which I've wanted because I just don't want to be upset every day like leading up to it. But usually on the actual day itself, I let myself just do whatever I need to do. So sometimes it's a cry all day. Sometimes it's just cry like in the morning. Sometimes it's just I'm fine all day and then I cry at night. Like it's just who knows like how it's going to be every year. But that is the one day that I'm like, all right, you have to let it out. Like you can't keep holding it in.
Yeah. And it's okay to do whatever it is that you feel. Like you can't structure how it's all going to work and what emotions are going to feel and when they're going to come and what you'll be able to do or where you'll be. Like it's just that, you know, allow yourself to be in that moment, just witness whatever it is that comes up. And whether it is the whole week leading up to those, milestone moments, those birthdays, the due dates, the Christmases, and all of those things, like they're always going to be there.
Yeah.
So how it's just allowing yourself to, because at it may not trigger you the same way each time, but just to know that those emotions are there and they're allowed to come up however and whenever, because yeah, it becomes very exhausting when we try and push them all inside all of the time and not feel them like the volcano.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't stop me from trying to push them in though.
Just let me try this. I'm gonna see. But
And yeah, the end result's always the same. It doesn't work, but
but each
but I
time I'll
keep doing it
try.
anyways. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. No, it's and we're human. Like in the end, we're human, and to be human, like we don't like to feel discomfort and pain, so we'll find any way around it. And if it is to push those emotions aside and to get distracted in moments, and then that's what it is.
Yeah.
And we do keep trying. We're creatures of habit as well. We'll keep trying the same things to make sure, maybe one day it will work. But
Right.
but yeah, no, very um everything that you've been through, and everything that you're navigating, it's so real. And this is a set, like, why I want to talk about it too is because there's not enough conversations out there that validate these feelings and validate the fact that I don't want to feel this today. I'm going to push this aside. But um no, I really do want to thank you for everything that you've been sharing today. And I know that there are things that you do to support lost families as well. So do you want to share a little bit about what you do and what you've created?
Sure. So I kind of started by just writing during my pregnancy with Jasmine, like when we knew her diagnosis, I started just kind of writing about it. And so then I started writing for pregnancy after loss support. I got involved with them. So that kind of led me into, okay, I know I want to do more to help like other lost families. So I had like this big rainbow skirt that I used to take pictures with my rainbow daughter. And I started like sending it around to other lost families. And so they take pictures with the skirt, and then like I share their pictures and their stories. And my whole purpose was to help raise awareness for pregnancy and infant loss, but also to give people a chance to share their stories, because we don't get to share our stories that often with, I mean, we share with like our family and friends, but not with like people who really get it. We don't have that always. So yeah, now that I started that in 2020, I think at the end of 2020. And so now there's more than one skirt at this point. And yeah, it's been to almost all 50 states. It's been the UK, Canada, Peru, and Australia. And I just crossed over like 350 stories recently.
And I've been wanting to get the skirt myself to do
It's in
photos and stuff.
Australia right now. So
I'll
if
just
you want to while it's there.
I'll go and find the person. No. But it has been something that I have wanted to do. Obviously, I see a lot of women take it through their pregnancies with their rainbow baby pregnancies, and I think it's a beautiful way to sort of honor that their journey and their story. Um I was Yeah, I think I contacted you once to get the skirt so I could take them now, even though my daughter's 5. I wanted to figure out a way that I could make it work. But
Those are actually some of my favorite ones, are the ones of people doing it with their rainbow baby, because there's so many that do it with the pregnancy, and those are beautiful too. But I just think it's something so special about doing it like with your rainbow. Like I just think it's so. I've definitely had some of those, not as many, but those are my favorite.
all right, well, I'll have to organize it, but I'll also have to tee up a photographer. So maybe it might not be this time round, but you'll be
Yeah, that's
sending
me.
it.
I was like, I'm not good at pictures myself. Somebody else do this, please.
I'll have to tee up another time for it to come to Australia, and we can do them and take some
Yeah,
and
definitely.
share our story as well.
I would love that. Yeah. So just to reiterate, you don't have to be pregnant to be
Mm.
part of it, and you don't have to have a rainbow baby either. It's just for anybody who's had loss, who's been through loss, and it's just to share your story. And I started it, as a way to show that we don't always find our rainbows through having another baby, that there are other ways that we can find them. So for a lot of people, that is a baby, but for some people, they aren't able to, or they don't want to try again. Um, but that it doesn't mean that like you're not ever going to be happy or fulfilled again. So that was kind of my whole purpose behind it.
Yeah, it's just reconnecting and finding that rainbow, finding that joy, that happiness, and however that looks. And it's not to
Yeah,
say, like you said, and having a baby is not going to be like it's never going to take away the pain. It's never a replacement.
right.
It absolutely does bring joy and happiness, but there are other ways that can happen for you in your life too. And it doesn't mean that it has to be just connected and attached to that one thing. So
Right. Yeah.
I love that you can that you allow women the opportunity to use the skirt even without, those pregnancies, without that, attachment, that they can still find that those beautiful, colors in their life after loss, however that looks. And it may look so different to what they anticipated it, but they can still find that joy.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many like lost families who have like started nonprofits, or they've started a business, or they've written a book, or there's just so many different things that I've seen people do. And I think those are all ways that we go about healing. We all go through not like the same experience, but similar experiences of losing a baby. And we all have the same kind of emotions and things that we deal with. And it's kind of interesting to see how everybody deals with it kind of differently, but the same.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's beautiful that you've been able to sort of gather so many stories now. Did you say 350 stories?
Yeah.
So it's beautiful that you've been able to have that many share, their experience and
I was
everything
worried
that
nobody would want to do it at first. I was like, nobody's going to want to do this because I mean, it does require you to be vulnerable and, share. But I've had a lot of people who said, wow, like this was really hard to write this out,
Mm.
but I'm so glad I did. Like it was so healing, or, I've never shared this before, or I share it all the time, but it's nice to share it again, or, just so many different like people.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be very cathartic to be able to
Yes.
share and write and also know that, you know, you're putting it out there too, and others can read it and feel some form of validation in your story in terms of what they're navigating too.
Yeah.
Just before we wrap up, I want to ask you one more question. What do you wish that you knew after experiencing pregnancy loss?
I think kind of what we've already talked about regarding support. I was very fortunate to have supportive family and friends, but I wish that I had found the lost community a lot sooner because that is exactly the support I needed at the time, but didn't have. Was I needed the support from other people who had gone through it because as well-meaning as my family and friends were, they just can't get it because they had not been through it. So I think if I had um, just found it sooner, I think it would have been a lot of help.
Yeah. And that's it. Like your friends and family mean well. And, I always say, I had so much support from my family. But I still felt so alone
Yes.
because as much love and, you get from your family, it's never that, deep validation of like, oh my gosh, I get you and I see you. Um, So absolutely having, and I didn't find the loss community to until probably like a year or so after my loss.
Yeah, same
So
for me.
yeah, so it is important to have that community of people just to just get you and know that, what you're experiencing, you're not making any of it up, and that you are
Right.
going okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not trying to get attention over here. Like,
Yeah.
we're really struggling, okay?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So where can people connect with you and find out more about what you do?
So I have my website is journeyforjasmine.com. You can read all the rainbow skirt stories there, and there's also lots of other stuff about pregnancy loss and infertility. I'm Journey for Jasmine on all my social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of that. And then my podcast is Finding Hope After Loss.
Yeah, beautiful. And I'll make sure that all of that is linked below so people can, in the show notes, can find you and connect with you. Thank you so much, Sarah, for being a part of the What I Wish I Knew After Pregnancy Loss podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome. It's been such a beautiful chat with you today. So thank you.
Yes, I enjoyed it.
Thank you to all that have listened in. If this episode was valuable to you, I invite you to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and I look forward to supporting you on the next episode. Thank you for listening in with me today. I hope you found this episode helpful. If you did, I would absolutely love to hear from you. Take a screenshot of this episode, share it to social media, and tag me at Institute of Healing_PL. I love seeing what is resonating with you right now. If you want to chat further, I invite you to connect with me through Instagram. Head over and follow my Instagram account, send me a DM, and let's open the communication. If you want to know more about how you can be the support for others, head to the show notes and fill out the application form for the Pregnancy Loss Practitioner certification. I want to also note here that what I share within the episodes is not medical advice. If you need further support, please consult your doctor. Thank you again. Much love to you. Be gentle with yourself, and I look forward to supporting you on the next episode.